Back to school time means new classes, fresh goals, new friends, and yes, the return of packed schedules and teenage mood swings as they navigate new challenges and test their growing independence. So we invited Coco Green of Youth 180 to share how parents can have conversations with their teens to set boundaries and encourage smart choices and keep communication open. Good morning to you. The timing couldn't be better. I've got a 15-year-old at home.
Oh, bless you. Yes.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say right off the top, these mood swings that you were seeing in teenagers, this is something that's very normal. This is part of development and hormones and all that other jazz. So parents shouldn't be too concerned when they're seeing these major mood swings. Is that correct?
I would say yes, to a degree that is correct. However, we don't want to just assume it's a stage. We don't want to assume it's just them being teenagers. You want to do those check-ins with them and make sure, hey, I've noticed that you're not wanting to get out of bed, or are you really tired? Do we need to take something off your plate? Do we need to add vitamins? Just kind of do those check-ins to make sure that it is just the normal teen hormone influxes.
So don't just dismiss it.
Don't dismiss it.
Stay
yes,
focused
ma'am.
in. All right, let's go back and talk about Youth 180. What is it all about?
Youth 180, we are just this really unique program that I think is unique, and we are a substance use and mental health intervention, prevention, and treatment program. And so we call it the wraparound service. I like to look at it as a big hug. We just want to we go into schools and talk about being their best selves, and that they don't have a use for substances. And then sometimes we see that some youth have had exposure or experiences with substances, may have been caught with like a vape. And so then we have an intervention team that goes in and they want to prevent them from going further down that path. And then we also have those teenagers that have more exposure and more experience. And so we have a treatment program, and not only do we meet with the students and help them with their issues, but we also meet with the families, which is my most favorite part of what we do. We also have family groups in the prevention sector, and it's just one of my favorite parts of our program.
Wow, you offer so many different services. I like the idea of being so comprehensive. It's like a hug. But let's also talk about boundary setting. This is important, and it's also a delicate subject when you're dealing with teenagers who are trying to kind of separate. They're more into their friends, and so sometimes it's difficult to talk about boundaries and making smart choices. So do you have some suggestions about how to talk to people, and also why is it so important that you do have these open conversations with them?
I think we need to remember that their sweet brains have not developed yet. So while we can make logical choices and look at the situation and say, well, why did you do this? And the answer is they didn't have the brain capacity yet to do that. And so when we set boundaries, it is like a guardrail on a bridge, that it is there for their protection, because we don't know what's on the other side. It could be just a ditch, or it could be a complete downfall. And so as parents, our job is to set those guardrails and set those boundaries, and to do it in love. And it's not I think we're so afraid of containing them and restricting them, but I think we need to make sure that those boundaries are set in place in love.
All right, I think that's a very good point. Can you give us an example of how you would even begin a conversation like this?
I think those kinds of conversations need to begin with the willingness to listen to the things that you might find silly. So if they're talking to you about the color of shoes that their friend is wearing, be engaged in that conversation. So later on, when you're willing, or when you have time to talk about the more serious conversations, they will be willing to listen to you.
All right,
it's a give and take.
You have some great tips for parents that are having these kind of difficult conversations. Let's talk about some of these tips that you have available for us.
I think my favorite tip is, one of my favorite tips is to lead and make sure and ask with curiosity. Really want to know what's going on in their life, and not necessarily just want to control that situation. Oftentimes we don't even need to give them advice. You're going to share your why. I love you and I'm wanting to protect you. This is my only job, is to protect you. And so I want to know why. I want you to know why that we're having this conversation. And just make sure that you're being very clear. You set clear boundaries, and that you guys are in agreement, that they can even bring some suggestions to the conversation as well, and you hear them and you talk about them. We want to always create a family code word, and that's I think you can call and say, hey, watermelon, life is too hard right now, and you know that you can kind of call them and check in on them and make sure that
So
they're
the
okay.
code word basically indicates that you can have that conversation. It's time to talk.
Sure.
That's the intention of the
Sure.
code word.
And even to have an intervention, like, oh, I'm at a friend's house and the situation
Oh,
is getting
I
out of
see.
control.
Okay.
And you can say, hey, Mom, I've been hungry for watermelon. Wanted to know if you went to the store and bought that. And so you can have that kind of strange thing, but it's also for emergencies. It's also for, just, hey, watermelon, need to have this conversation.
That is excellent advice.
you.
I really do appreciate you being
I
here.
appreciate being
Okay, so where
here.
can people find you and get more information?
I really highly suggest you go to youth180tx.org. Everything you need to know is on that website. We'd love to have people volunteer and just become involved in their community.
Thank you so much. This
Thank
is great
you.
information. We appreciate it.
I've enjoyed it. Thank you.